Welcome, dear church, to the launch of the next stage of our building project. I want to put that steel frame structure that you can see out of the windows there into a bigger perspective for a moment. That structure, useful though it will be when it's completed, is not the vision of the church. It will, however, facilitate the vision of the church. Let's talk about vision for a moment. Goal-orientated visions in a church can be a dangerous thing. They tempt us to measure our success on what we achieve. They tempt us to set goals within our abilities and our own reach, with the result that we could be tempted to rely on our own resources and become susceptible to pride. When goals direct our church experience, our vision can become smaller, more limited, and begins to erode faith and sometimes even obedience. Relationship with Jesus and Christ-likeness in character can sometimes play a close second to those other goals. That's why person-orientated vision is much better. When we see people as more important, we become aware of their great needs in their whole being, body and spirit. We become conscious of our weaknesses, our own inability to match those needs, and a lack of our own resources to give what we ultimately need for ourselves. This is what drives us to the one who has all resources. This is what promotes faith. This is what changes our character and gives life to a church, whether we have a building or not. And a true church vision, which is person-orientated, has at its heart the most important person, the Lord Jesus. When we see him in fresh ways, as we relate to him and as he disciples us by his word and his spirit, we then look at our own needs and the needs of other people around us, and suddenly all things become possible. We see the things that God has put into our hands and into our hearts, and we say, Lord Jesus, have it all. But, oh Lord, it's still not enough. The need is so great. Please give us more so that we can give more in reaching others with your good news and with expressions of love. And when we have that kind of Christ-centered vision for our lives and our community, our church community and the community around us, our outlook changes. Faith rises. We see what we already have, and we see whom God has put into the fellowship with us, with their various passions and gifts and ideas, and suddenly the collective body that we are desires to use these things for the glory of the Lord Jesus. Vision for our actions then becomes collective, not individual passion. Vision becomes relational with God and with each other. Vision becomes natural, not forced or unrelated to who we are. Vision then is owned by all of us, and all our resources are willingly then given to serve those needs. So let's look at what we do have. We have space, we have location, we have a number of buildings, we have a collective amount of finances, we have each other, and all the things that God has given us, and over all, of course, we have the Spirit of God, the power of his might. We have his word, we have his gospel, we have a commission. And look at the fruit that we currently produce, the support and strengthening of the church in this part of Cornwall, much sharing of the gospel at home and overseas, and practical expressions of God's love for one another and for those in need around us. But look at the needs that we still have. Well, in this booklet here that was given out at the beginning of the year, our vision booklet for 2024, you'll read about the current ministries and the needs that are still there. And in the last 4 pages of that, you'll find the church vision for 2024 and how we're working out the resources that we've got with the needs to match those needs there. I encourage you to read through that and find a copy at the back of the church if you haven't got one. And look at the needs of our society, our secular, liberal society around us, drowning in the shallowness and the hopelessness of its ideologies and being crushed under the weight of its destructive lifestyles. This site and its buildings can facilitate so much more to meet those needs, to share the good news about Jesus in more imaginative ways, draw more resources, and connect more Jesus-centered ministries and other churches together here to meet the great needs around us. If the population of Liskeard alone, which I'm told reliably by Google is 9,147 people, if they were all to become Christians, we would see around about 75 more churches the same size as ours in existence. There is much to be done. This project could be used not just to disciple currently our children and our youth in current ministries and other clubs and the catering that we do, the community activities and other meetings. It could facilitate so much more. Crazy ideas, church camps here from elsewhere, making connections with other churches and helping them see Cornwall as a missionary destination, not just a holiday one. We could see a gap year program for young adults working from here to reach the schools around us, getting into the trust and to the academies that are around, helping teach children the gospel as part of the RE syllabus, linking more closely with the beach missions team in the summer. Perhaps a Christian school here, or a facility to help those who homeschool. Perhaps a Bible college course for the Southwest. Maybe a site for teaching skills for those who don't fit into the normal academic education system. Maybe a future nursing home in the manse. Maybe a site with some static caravans to help our young people move out of their home, their family home, and save some money to get onto the property ladder at the same time. Maybe a place for Christians Against Poverty to host one of their many practical training courses. Maybe a larger ministry with food bank and a host of other wild thoughts that we could entertain here to see the church built up and the community reached for Jesus through practical, relational sharing that is natural to who we are and what we've got. This building project can seem too big for us if we make it the goal of our vision, as it's going to cost a lot of money and we're not rich. But it will seem entirely possible if our vision is Jesus orientated, as it will drive us in prayer to the one who it is being built for the glory of. Talking about it now in the rest of the service is not an unspiritual thing, because it serves both a spiritual and physical need in the purposes of God's kingdom here. This moment is another milestone in the testimony of the church here. Let's do all that we can to pass this site on to the generations behind us as a useful tool for the gospel, without them having to bear the cost of it. If you have some time in the next month, I'd like to point you to a sermon that was preached here on the 4th of December 2022 about this project, and Frankie will send you all a link in an email to it, and hopefully you'll hear some more encouragement to keep persevering in building this tool for gospel purposes here. But I'd like to close this particular section right now with the verse of an old hymn to encourage you that a vision of Jesus is the best vision for the church to have, as it can be applied in any year under any circumstances. I saw a new vision of Jesus, a view I'd not seen here before, beholding in glory so wondrous, with beauty I had to adore. I stood on the shores of my weakness and gazed at the brink of such fear. It was then that I saw him in newness, regarding him fair and so dear.